Hey, it's been 4 days since I've put out any content. Hey, I'm Tiffany, your guide to exploring inner growth and transformation through plant medicine. So let's dive in. These are going to be my personal lessons of what has happened in the past 4 days and how I struggle with certain things and how it's hard for me to show up in those struggles. And lessons in what it means to be consistent. So let's just dive in, and I'm just gonna go. None of this content is planned. I try to plan content, but this is just, wow, I've been missing for 4 days and I felt it. So I started this TikTok back in January 5th, so it's been just over a month probably. And I've had a few other TikToks at different points in my career, right? So never for my therapy practice. I feel like that's a little bit different. Why is this being so weird? Okay. That's a little bit different. But for my coaching, I have had a few different TikToks. And one of the things that I think was always kind of a failure, which isn't a failure, it's just learning moments and growth for me, is number one, being consistent. I was really struggling to be consistent with where I was at. Well, relationship therapy and sex therapy in my therapy practice is 100% a passion of mine. Hands down, I will always enjoy doing it, and I do it in different forms, whether that's couples and relationships, virtually in a therapy room. I do couples intensives, relationship intensives, 4 to 6 hours, and even the possibility of people coming to me and doing like luxury packages. Never sold one of those, but that would be cool. So putting that out into the universe, okay? So while that is 100% my passion, I think with the coaching, something always felt really off. At that time, I was really watching some other coaches like really blow up. And I think at one point, one of the women has made like something like $80 million as a coach. And I don't know, I just felt kind of not jealous, but like, ooh, it seemed like a multi-level marketing scheme, right? You got this one coach who has a few people under her that has become more under her, that has more under her, that has more under her, all buying into these packages. And I get it. As a therapist, I understand the importance of consultation and supervision, but it felt too much like a pyramid scheme. And so I never really had the buy-in from myself to really fully do coaching. Even though I was passionate about it, I dabbled in men's coaching because I work with men and women equally when it comes to the sex therapy. I did some intimacy coaching, pleasure coaching, which is the foundation of a lot of my work. Is intimacy starts with the relationship that we have with ourselves. I believe pleasure is a birthright in all capacities, just in life, in small moments, in who we are and what we do, right? But I just really struggled with it. So the first lesson in consistency is I started this January 5th, and my goal to push myself to my edges, which is I don't like talking in front of a bunch of people, and this is different because I'm not going live. I did my first live, check it out. I was fumbling my words. I was so nervous. As I was seeing people pop up, I was like, oh shit, there's a lot of people here. Like, what am I doing? But I'm getting really comfortable with this. Like, it feels really good to be able to do what I love, which is to talk, to share lessons in life, love, relationships, expansion, right? And so I pretty much was showing up almost every day between here and then reposting it other places, but doing some different stuff on Instagram as well. Started a YouTube, content's going over to the YouTube also, and so I want to do some long form content over there. So fast forward to my total mental breakdown that I had on Sunday. The way that I totally contracted instead of expanding into this, that was a pattern that happens for me often, which is this is too hard. I'm not smart enough to figure it out. I'm just going to quit everything. And I will say, I did burn most of it all to the ground and started over. So if you're familiar with business, I had hosted my website and my blog on Wix. And I've been there for years. My therapy page is there, all of this stuff. I realized when somebody was signing up for the free guide that everybody should sign up for, that the automations weren't working. And I was like, what the hell? I spent hours going through, I had ChatGPT, I call it Geppetto. Geppetto was helping me try to figure this automation stuff out. Nothing would work. At the end of the day, they upsold me some stuff that I had already paid for like 2 weeks back, and I was pissed and frustrated, and I was like, you know what, cost of doing business, I'll just do this. So I burned it to the ground. It's still up and running. You can still see the blog there. You can still sign up for the free download. I just have to send emails manually for the follow-ups, for the retreat stuff, all of the things. So I burned it to the ground. We started a new name because we're like, we should really just start the podcast. We have the YouTube channel, so everything, if you notice on here, it says Altered and Aware. So there is a tagline underneath that just didn't fit on here. And that is going to also be the podcast. So started the logo. We're in the process of making the cover. I had a podcast years ago that I did, and I absolutely love doing the podcast. Oh, I stumbled my words there. I loved doing the podcast. It was a lot of fun. It became a lot of work just based on where I was at the time, so I stopped doing that. I have a new website. So I, at first, was trying to pound this website out. The website at the end of the day doesn't really matter. It's more about my blog. So what I'm trying to do now is, because my old website is still up and it's good for another year because they upsold me, is I have to migrate all of the blog content over to this new one. What I'm torn about is all of my relationship, sex, therapy blogs. Do I just leave them and let them die, or do I transfer them to the new website? Because there's so much great information in those. And some of that's from years ago, and maybe my views have changed, and so those wouldn't be relevant, but just kind of pulling some of it. Because the retreat isn't just about expansion of yourself, it's about the expansion of yourself to live a better life, to have better relationships with yourself and with others. That's personally and romantically. And so some of those might be relevant, but I think most of that's gonna die for the past to live in a time capsule as it maybe is meant to be. Because at the end of the day, I stood outside on Monday night and I was taking the dogs out, and the sky was so beautiful. There's a bunch of cacti over where we walk the dogs. You can see the ocean because it's like right over the way. And I just looked up and I was like, you know what? The universe always provides, and I'm exactly where I am meant to be. And maybe this is a sign that there are some things from the past that just need to die, and not die like that, but be left in the past. And one of those things was the pattern of contraction I went into when things got frustrating, and the mindset shift that I had to go through on Monday night to simply say, you know what? You can take your time at this. It's meant to be how it's meant to be, and it's going to work how it's going to work. So if you made it this far, congratulations, and I am so happy to have you here. You can still download the free guide, and I will set you up with everything and collect that email address. Have a good one.